This crazy story begins with Cornelius Vanderbilt, known as the Commodore, who laid the foundation of what would become a financial empire through his ventures in railroads and shipping. His success was staggering, and the wealth he accumulated was monumental. However, it was the subsequent generations of Vanderbilts who would come to epitomize the zenith of extravagant spending in a manner that the Commodore himself might never have envisioned. But how did a family so adept at building wealth fail to maintain it? Stick around as we uncover what happened behind closed doors of the Vanderbilt family. Before diving into the Vanderbilts' lost wealth, it's crucial to understand their initial wealth accumulation. Their luxury wasn't just about gathering assets, it was a spectacle. They built palatial homes across New York, Rhode Island, and North Carolina, showcasing their immense wealth. Notable among these were the Breakers in Newport, a 70-room Italian Renaissance palazzo, and the Biltmore Estate in North Carolina, America's largest private residence, symbols of their status in American aristocracy. The Vanderbilts' parties were famously extravagant, costing millions in today's money, and designed to display their unmatched status. This lifestyle was an arms race of opulence, with each generation trying to outdo the previous, elevating their family's standing but draining the fortune accumulated by the Commodore. As the family expanded, so did their mansions, parties, and expenses, but their fortune began to decline. Investments that could have replenished their wealth were instead spent on an unsustainable lifestyle, leading to their financial downturn. After Cornelius Vanderbilt built a massive fortune in railroads and shipping, his heirs faced the challenge of managing his wealth. They were skilled at spending, but less so in the savvy investments that had built their wealth. While Cornelius capitalized on the growing industries of his time, his descendants stuck to the past, investing in sectors that were yielding less as the economy evolved, missing the transition to automobiles, the oil industry, and consumer goods sectors. This resistance to diversification was a key mistake. While Cornelius was a pioneer, his progeny tried to preserve their wealth without adapting to new economic conditions. The American Industrial Revolution offered chances in steel, oil, and electricity, exploited by tycoons like Carnegie, Rockefeller, and Edison. But the Vanderbilts remained focused on railroads, which were losing ground to cars and planes. Their failure to diversify wasn't due to a lack of resources, but a lack of foresight. The fortune that could have fueled investments in emerging industries was instead spent on lavish living and supporting declining ventures. Cornelius's empire was substantial, but couldn't withstand the test of time and a static investment approach. The late 19th and early 20th centuries marked a transformative period in the United States, ushering in the era of automobiles, airplanes, and city electrification, which promised to redefine distances and lifestyles. The Vanderbilt fortune, anchored in the railroads, started to waver with these industrial advancements. Railroads, the backbone of their empire, faced challenges from the emerging automobile and airplane sectors. The 1908 introduction of the Ford Model T and the Wright brothers' 1903 flight signaled shifts towards more flexible and efficient transportation options, putting traditional rail-based transport systems under pressure. These were not minor changes, but significant ones that reshaped industries and consumer habits. The Vanderbilts, once leaders in the railroad era, saw their income sources threatened by progress they had helped to pioneer. Moreover, societal shifts towards mass production, consumerism, and urbanization opened new markets that railroads couldn't fully serve. The growth of the automotive, oil, and electrical appliance sectors, areas where the Vanderbilts had minimal involvement, underscored the need for diversification they didn't pursue. The Vanderbilt heirs' response to these shifts was cautious, hampered by tradition and overconfidence. They missed the chance to adapt their resources to these new growing sectors, overlooking opportunities presented by the era's economic changes. Built in an era when railroads dominated, the Vanderbilt fortune flourished under Cornelius Vanderbilt's visionary leadership, placing them among America's wealthiest families. Yet, as the late 19th and early 20th centuries brought innovations, the Vanderbilts hesitated to diversify beyond rail and steam, missing new industry opportunities. This reluctance was a deliberate stance, The Vanderbilts remained attached to their legacy, overlooking the need to adapt in a fast-evolving economic landscape. Their belief in the enduring value of past successes became a financial misstep as new sectors like the automotive industry, oil, and electricity emerged. Continuing to invest in the fading railroad sector without recognizing the potential of these burgeoning fields was a critical oversight. This resistance to change led to a gradual decline in their fortune, a decline marked more by an inability to adapt to economic shifts than by mere financial imprudence. The dwindling Vanderbilt wealth wasn't abrupt, but a gradual fading, highlighting the relentless advancement of progress that doesn't pause for tradition. Over time, the family's financial stronghold began to weaken, not only due to lavish spending and poor investments, but primarily because of their failure to adjust to a changing economy. Cornelius Vanderbilt's strategic genius established a vast fortune through railroads and steamships. However, as this wealth passed through generations, it diminished, akin to a sculpture gradually losing its form. The expanding family tree meant wealth spread thinner with each generation, turning a once robust flow into a mere trickle for the Commodore's great-grandchildren. This dispersal weakened not only the wealth, but also the family's influential status. The decline in the Vanderbilts' collective power starkly contrasted their former prominence. They transitioned from industry leaders to mere custodians of a dwindling legacy, their role in society shifting from active participants to observers of a fading past. This dilution impacted their ability to uphold the trappings of their status. The grand estates and lavish lifestyles became relics of the past, increasingly out of reach. Properties that once symbolized Vanderbilt wealth were sold or repurposed, moving the family further from their heyday. Compounding this wealth depletion were the 20th century's changing tax laws and economic policies. The introduction of income and estate taxes, alongside regulatory changes, further eroded their fortune, marking a seismic shift in the landscape of American wealth that the Vanderbilts could not withstand. In the early days of the Vanderbilt Empire, wealth could grow relatively unfettered by the hands of government. However, as the United States matured and its economic policies evolved, the mechanisms of wealth redistribution began to tighten their grip. The introduction of the federal income tax in 1913, followed by the estate tax, was aimed at curbing the concentration of wealth and financing public goods and services. For families like the Vanderbilts, these taxes represented a new frontier in their battle to preserve their fortune. The estate tax, in particular, became a significant factor in the erosion of the Vanderbilt wealth. As the fortune was passed down through generations, each transfer was subject to taxation, significantly reducing the amount that could be inherited. This tax on intergenerational wealth transfer, combined with high rates of income tax on the wealth that the family continued to generate, served as a double-edged sword, cutting into the fabric of their financial legacy. Beyond taxes, broader economic policies and shifts also played a pivotal role. The 20th century was a period of unprecedented change in the American economic landscape, marked by the Great Depression, the New Deal, and the post-World War II economic expansion. Each of these eras brought with it new policies and regulations that reshaped the playing field for wealth accumulation and preservation. The Vanderbilts, like many of their contemporaries, found themselves navigating an increasingly complex web of economic directives that impacted their ability to sustain their wealth over the long term. The culmination of these factors, extravagant spending, poor investment decisions, failure to adapt to economic changes, dilution of wealth through inheritance, and the impact of taxes and economic policies, marks the closing chapters of the Vanderbilt financial empire. What began as a story of unparalleled success and accumulation transformed into a cautionary tale of the vulnerabilities that wealth faces over time. As we reflect on the arc of the Vanderbilt story, from the heights of their opulence to the gradual decline of their empire, it stands as a testament to the transient nature of wealth and the enduring challenge of securing a legacy across generations. The Vanderbilt saga is not just a chronicle of one family's rise and fall, but a mirror reflecting the broader themes of American economic and social history. Thanks for watching The Vanderbilt Family Story. What family do you want to see next? Let me know in the comments.